Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, EmeraldPlanet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the EmeraldPlanet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock, the President and Executive Director of EmeraldPlanet and EmeraldPlanet TV. We're coming to you live from the Washington Auto Show. And we really should call this the Washington U.S. National Policy Auto Show. But, John, the title would be way too long, and we couldn't do that. And we're coming to bring you the latest in technologies and also talk about the philosophy and really the purpose behind having such an internationally ranked auto show. I have with me John O'Donnell, who is the President, CEO of the Washington Area New Automobile Dealers Association, WANADA as it's called, and also the producer of the Washington Auto Show. John, welcome to the EmeraldPlanet.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Hancock.
It's really great to be with you, and I just love what the work that you're doing, but what is really the purpose of the Washington Auto Show?
Well, it's like other auto shows in that it's for the consumers to come and review all of the cars and maybe find their next vehicle here. That's what really all auto shows are about, to promote the business within the general public. Ours is unique, though, because we have a special niche. We are the public policy auto show, not only here in the U.S., but on the global circuit. And we're fortunate because we happen to have Congress and the regulatory agencies right here in D.C. So what we consider our mission is to pair government and regulation with the manufacturers. And I think that's pretty important these days and probably going on for at least a decade. We all try to figure out this new age of mobility. Where's it going to take us? What are the threats? What are the opportunities? What are the benefits? And it's a lively discussion that's been going on around the nation, around the world, but really needs to be more laser-like focused right here in the nation's capital.
Well, being really the center, in a sense, center of the universe, because you have, almost 200 embassies that are located here, representatives from the world. You have the most probably diverse population on the planet because people gravitate to Washington, D.C., not only as far as just a place where Congress resides, the international policy with the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, but the fact is that people gravitate here because this really is a magnet for the nations.
We're also a very educated public.
Very much so. You have the highest concentration of PhDs, of engineers, and all that. You're right, John. But tell us a little bit about having that mix as far as the embassies, the internationals, and the Congress. How does that work? Because you really are fostering an idea and cross-fertilization over these many different nations.
That's true, and it's funny that you mentioned the fact that we have so many embassies here. In the future, you're going to see us focus more and more on getting the ambassadors from the automaking nations to attend the show and have an event here. We've had a few this year. We always have 1, 2, perhaps 3. But it's nothing like the quantity of senators and congressmen that come, as well as cabinet members, and even the president, vice president themselves. So it's the next evolution, if you will, particularly with the concept of globalization that's going on. They all want to know what's happening here, and we're watching what's happening outside of the United States.
Now, looking at this, John, and I somewhat kiddingly say this, but it's really true, is now you have this tremendous computing power, a huge computer, and by the way, you get a car with it when you buy the computer or the computers. And so tell us a little bit about the evolution that you've seen as far as the technologies over the years that you've been in the business.
The best way to describe that, we held something called Mobility Talks in the Rayburn building on Capitol Hill earlier last week. And the purpose of it was to have sort of a call to action as well as an informational session for members of Congress and their staffers. Really, the staffers are the ones that help guide policy so they can tell their congressmen what they believe ought to be done. So we wanted to influence them, and we talked about vehicle-to-vehicle, infrastructure, autonomous, semi-autonomous vehicles, and where we could really go. certainly cybersecurity is something we're all concerned about, but the idea that Congress really needs to become more educated on this very quickly, because this technology is here. You're seeing bits and pieces of it now. You're talking about major advances in the next 2 to 3 years, and that's going to be brought forth into the market. This isn't a concept any longer. So we need to have a Congress that is allowing rulemaking so that we can have these vehicles on our streets in a safe, proficient manner.
Looking at the Congress, but also looking at governments around the world, you have the semi-autonomous, you have the autonomous cars, in essence, the driverless cars. We're not there yet because just the rules and regulations. What is the delay, the time lag between the technology is there and then the policy actually catches up with the technology?
That's a tough one to answer because we're in uncharted territory here, and that's what makes it so challenging. At Mobility Talks last week, one of the panelists referred to your car as a rolling computer.
And that fits right in with my theme.
That's what it is. So what you're witnessing is the pairing of software companies with suppliers and manufacturers. They haven't merged yet. There's not even a discussion of that. But Ford Motor Company recently announced that they no longer consider themselves a auto manufacturer. Now they consider themselves a mobility company. So we're going to see a lot more of this, and Congress is aware of it. They're also a little skittish, as they should be, because this is, as I said, uncharted territory. We don't know what all of the downside is. We see quite a bit of what the upside is, reduced emissions, fewer accidents. They're calling for 80 to 90% of uninhibited, meaning human error, accidents going away, becoming a thing of the past. So the opportunity is there. We need to make sure that we roll this out in a safe fashion that's logical and really doesn't freak out the general public.
Now, looking at the auto show itself, you and I were talking about this earlier, and really I think many people miss the real essence of this, is that you're allowing the general public to come in and they become part of the process. They're giving you feedback. You see what they like, what they don't like, what they see on the horizon. At the same time, it allows the auto manufacturers to be here to see and touch the public, and the public to see and touch them. Moving away from the Congress and the policymakers, how do you see this interaction evolving with the public and what may be brought into the marketplace through this intimate knowledge and nature of the population, particularly here, which is a very highly educated and well-funded public?
I have a funny story for you on this topic. We tend to do focus groups every so often to make sure that we're delivering the product that both the manufacturers and the general public want. And as you mentioned, we have an educated population here, and we thought advanced technology would be a theme that the general public would want to hear about. So during our focus group, we asked some people, what do you consider to be advanced technology? And we thought we would get answers like hydrogen fuel cell technology, or vehicle-to-vehicle communication between cars. And what we got was soccer mom saying, do you mean like safety belts and cup holders? So we're on the inside of this industry. So where our head is isn't necessarily where the general population is. Now, they know this is coming. They read about it, they hear about it, they see it on shows like yours. But I don't think it's ready for prime time just yet. For the enthusiasts, the car enthusiasts that are watching this, and they desire to have this early adoption of the technology, they're going to be on top of it. And you can see it right here in this building. The great thing about it is you don't necessarily know you're looking at a connected car. So they're going to look very much like the vehicles of today, but the improvements will be rolled out and dripped out through the manufacturer into the general population slowly but surely. SAE, the Society of Automotive Engineers, has 5 gradations for connected cars or driverless cars, with number 5 being a pure driverless car. Well, we're not there yet. You're not at a stage where you can hop in the back of your car and take a nap en route to your destination. Will we get there? I do believe we'll get there. So, yeah, it really is incredible what we're doing, what we're capable of doing. But we are going to hold a seminar next year on Capitol Hill entitled, "It Depends What the Regulators Do." Because so many manufacturers and technology companies that I speak to say, well, we can do this and we can do that, but we don't want to invest in it until we know what the regulators are going to do. What are they going to allow us to put on the roads of the United States?
Looking at the CAFE standards, and this is the energy efficiency, greenhouse gas reduction, and all the automobiles, what do you see for the path of that over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Well, by, I believe it's 2025, the Obama administration has mandated that the corporate average fuel economy must be 52.5 miles per gallon. That's going to be hard to achieve. You can only make the vehicles so light, and manufacturers are lightweighting their cars so that they can use the same amount of energy to go further. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to have all-electric vehicles, but there's not enough people buying them. Why not? Because we don't necessarily have the infrastructure so that somebody can plug in whenever they need to. Will we get there? It's going to be a struggle. It'll be interesting. If we don't achieve it, I think we're going to come damn close. As far as WANADA goes, our dealer trade association, I'm very, very lucky. I'm very fortunate. It's a good group of owners. They are some of the strongest owners in our country. So they're going to be acquiring as opposed to being acquired. So that's the future is safe with WANADA. In terms of the show, what are we going to do with this? We're going to continue our mission to attract like-minded organizations to this show. For example, the GSA, the General Services Administration, has 1,000 fleet buyers from across the country convene here for training and education. And then they have their own separate exhibits and displays. So you're going to see us do more and more of that and make this show literally the center of the United States in terms of anything automotive related to what can go on the street for the general public.
This is John O'Donnell, President, CEO of the WANADA, and also the producer of the Washington Auto Show. Thank you for being with us as we create the EmeraldPlanet.
Art, a universal language, an expression of culture, of self. And now, thanks to Empowered Women International, a way for emerging and established immigrant and refugee artists and artisans to find hope to earn a living while enriching the lives of all of us. Empowered Women International, making a better America every day. For more information on Empowered Women International's educational programs, or to make a tax-free donation, contact cfrip at AOL.com.
Here, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty.
You'd think it would be easy to tell which kids have trouble with their eyesight. But that's not always the case. Even though 1 in 4 children may have a vision problem, eye doctors tell us the symptoms aren't always so obvious. We do know that 80% of all childhood learning is visual. And without good vision, kids can have trouble learning to read. And may fall behind in school. For clues on how to spot the real-life signs of childhood vision problems and what parents can do, visit checkyearly.com. A public service message from the Vision Council of America, and reading is fundamental.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock, the President and Executive Director of EmeraldPlanet and the EmeraldPlanet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis, bringing you the best of the best from around the globe. We're coming to you live from the Washington Auto Show, and we should say this is the Washington U.S. National Policy Auto Show. But Charlie, that would be too long a name and we couldn't fit it all in. Sitting right beside me is a good friend who's been on the Emerald Planet before to talk about the evolution of the automobile and the people movers, transportation, as we move towards 2050. Is Charles S. Stringfellow, Jr. He goes by Charlie. He is on the executive committee of the Automobile Dealers Association of Washington Area, WANADA, and he is a member and past chair of the WANADA Washington Auto Show Committee. Charlie, welcome back to the Emerald Planet.
Sam, it's good to be back. Thank you for having me.
Well, this is really exciting, and what I wanted to talk with you about, Charlie, is really a little bit of history, but really the future as far as automobiles, but these people movers we're talking about as we move towards 2050. We're going from 7 billion people, a little over, to 9 billion. It's a lot of people we have to transport. So what do you see from the past that maybe we can carry forward into the future?
Well, there have been a tremendous advances in the automotive technology over the last roughly 40 years that I've been associated with the business, and it's impressive to see what has happened. The safety, of course, has been one of the key features. The fuel efficiency, the fuel economy has been another area, and just the technology that manufacturers have been able to adopt into the automobiles that make them more user-friendly and provide all sorts of driver assist, driver aids, so that the driver knows what is going on not only within the car, but outside the car as well. That's a sort of a broad strokes, and certainly we can delve into any of the specifics as we go through this conversation.
Well, looking at the automobile, people know that change is already here. They sense it with the vehicles. They're saying that the average automobile on the road in the United States is about 13 years. That's very old, but at the same time, we have some of the most advanced technologies on the planet. They're going in even beyond what we did when we started with the space program and launched a man and put him on the moon. So you've seen over your 40 years tremendous change. What are you seeing of this blend of the manufacturers and the buying public as far as what they really want in their automobiles?
Well, first of all, Sam, if we ratchet back and to pick up on your comment about the cars on the road now being an average of about 13 years old, the odometers, when I was first came into the business, went back to zero when you hit 99,999 miles. So the issue of odometer safety and not safety, but odometer fraud or true mileage, was unknown at the time. Now all the odometers read to 6 digits. The very first one manufacturer to do that was Volvo, who have for years been synonymous with automobile safety, and they've been very tenacious about it. So we come forward. The cars are better built now. The corrosion protection, they don't rust like they used to back in the 60s and 70s. The materials are better. The engine, the power plants are better, and it's not uncommon for us in the retail side of the business to see cars coming in with 150, 200,000 miles on them, and the customer wants to get another one like the one he or she just had. And of course, the improvements in the technology, we're seeing engine displacements that are much smaller before. We're going, today we see more 6-cylinder power plants than V8s, and they're adding turbocharging and other things like fuel injection and electronic steering controls to make the engines more efficient, and you still have the same power and the same performance to get the car over the road. The materials are lighter, yet they're stronger, they're more durable, and the safety that's built into the cars. If we think back to the days of when I was growing up, and even as our children were growing up, the car seat, how all the advances have come and been made in that. We look at what our children sat in and we wonder, how did they make it this far? And nowadays, there are anchors in the back seats. They have rear-facing, forward-facing, all depending on the age of the child, the size of the child, and it's tremendous advances in that. The seat belts have been a wonderful advance as well, and their car will tell you if you don't put your seat belt on, and I'm sure we'll get to some point where the car may not start until you or go until you put that seat belt on.
Looking at society, through my university courses, I learned that technology is roughly 15 to 20 years ahead of what society actually will adopt and feel comfortable with. But as we look at all these automobiles around here, I mean, literally, there's more sophistication in these automobiles than, virtually all of the space engines and the space vehicles that we put out there in outer space, and have more computing power at the same time. So how are people becoming climatized, or do they just want the features and they really don't want to think about the technology and the changes that are going on? What do you see in the industry?
Well, the technology that comes with the changes is important, and it all has to be merchandisable and made compatible to today's society and today's driver. The way the cockpit is laid out, the ergonomic arrangement for the hand controls, the steering wheel, the seating, all that plays a vital part in the automobile. The center stack, as it's called, which is between the driver and passenger seat, has all the controls in it to tell you virtually anything you would ever want to know. Referencing computers, the number of computers in modern cars is, I don't want to call it staggering, but there are a lot of them. They're talking to one another all the time, monitoring every situation and condition as that car is being operated, and feeding information one to the other and or to the driver, him or herself, so they can make adjustments to their situation. The number of warnings that we get, like an ice alert in the wintertime, or a car in your blind spot as you're trying to pull out into passing another car. Those things are all becoming standard features in the newer cars, whereas in the past they might have been accessories or might have been only found in the high-end model. So those things are finding their way into the car, and it's something that the consumer wants and expects in his or her new automobile.
Looking at the auto dealerships themselves, I mean, you have many years of experience in actually managing as well as, selling cars, dealing customer service and all that. This, my understanding is, has evolved to a very high, sophisticated level. Many people would start out of high school, be able to go in, sell cars, do very well in their life. Now more and more demand for them to have college degrees, to have specialized certifications. I was part of that training program in the Commonwealth of Virginia for all the dealerships. They wanted their people to have, these certifications and certain degrees. What are you seeing as far as sophistication of the people that are actually taking and managing the cars themselves, and the maintenance of these automobiles, so the buying public really doesn't need to worry about it?
Cars today, much longer service intervals. They're, as we've been talking, technologically far more sophisticated than anything before them. So the days of the do-it-yourself are not quite behind us, but certainly will be a distant memory at some point. The maintenance on the car is becoming critical to the car's operation and to having everything work and perform as the manufacturer intended it to do. We're seeing the consumers nowadays spending a tremendous amount of their time on the internet researching the car, the features, the functions that they want, and less time pounding the pavement going from dealership to dealership looking at specific automobiles. And a venue like this, of course, is a wonderful opportunity for the consumer to come and see, touch, feel, smell all the different products that he or she may be interested in, all under one roof.
Now, many people have asked me, we have the internet, we can do our research there, but yet the auto show itself continues to increase as far as its importance. It's now one of the top 5 Tier 1 auto shows in the United States and the globe, and more people are showing up. So what is this connectedness that people are looking for when they could do all this on the internet, but yet they show up by the thousands to come to your auto show and numerous other auto shows around the United States and around the globe?
It's just a nice social setting, a nice atmosphere to be in. You can pick up the brochures, you can sit in the cars, you can do any number of different interactive things with the cars, and of course there are spokespeople at each of the locations who can answer any questions you might have and or will be hawking the latest wares from that manufacturer.
Looking at, and we're almost out of time, Charlie, and it always happens when we get together. I love your chats. But looking at the future of the auto industry, what do you see? And it's a two-part question. What do you see for the future automobile, say, over the next 5, 10, 15 years? And then WANADA itself and the auto show the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Well, the auto show will continue to be an integral part of the WANADA program and our annual calendar. What we'll see in the auto industry this year, we're pacing towards 18 plus million units, which would be a record by any measure and standard. So that's the industry is robust. The industry is doing well. We'll continue to see the electronics in the cars improve. We'll continue to see more electric cars or electric hybrid cars. That seems to be the preferred technology. The last time, or one of the previous meetings that you and I had, there were a number of different alternatives out there, but several of those seem to have fallen by the wayside as a little bit too extreme or just not viable.
Looking at the committee itself, we only have about 30 seconds. We have to be quick, Charlie. What do you see as far as the involvement of the industry, the dealers, WANADA, and the industry together?
Well, because of WANADA's unique position here in Washington, D.C., we will continue to promote the public policy part of the auto show and try to bring manufacturers and people in Congress together in a non-confrontational venue to help promote the automobile industry in general.
And thank you for being with us as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Well, it's a matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about $3,000. Nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
Why don't you just wash your car at home?
When I wash my car, everything runs down the street and down into the storm drains. With all the chemicals in the soaps and waxes, the last thing I want to do is poison my own drinking water.
At least here, it's all contained and recycled on site.
That's why I also take my car in for oil changes instead of doing it myself. I might take a chance on spilling stuff.
You know what the best part is?
What?
More time to kick back and watch the game.
How far would you go to protect the planet?
I want you to build an ark.
Here we go. Okay, that's good. Oh, okay. Ow!
Maybe there's another way.
People, the flood is imminent. Is it too much to ask for a little precipitation?
Go to fightglobalwarming.com to find out what you and your community can do to reduce global warming pollution.
Somewhere around the world, there are men and women of the armed forces risking their lives helping rebuild communities after natural disasters, collecting toys for needy children, tutoring kids in school. These are your sons and daughters who work to keep us safe, secure, and free. Dedicated men and women who put their country first.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of EmeraldPlanet, EmeraldPlanet TV. We're coming to you from the Washington Auto Show, and I should say the Washington U.S. National Policy Auto Show, because that's really what it is. And being close to the Congress and being in the center of almost 200 embassies and liaison offices from around the globe, really the Washington Auto Show and WANADA itself is the center of the automotive universe. And I have my good friend and Rotarian sitting right beside me, Gerard. He goes by Gerry N. Murphy. He's a President-Emeritus. I love that title. And General Counsel for the Washington Area Automobile Dealers Association. And also a third generation as far as WANADA is concerned. And Gerry, it's always good to be with you.
It's good to see you, Sam, as always.
Always good to have you out. Looking at we've talked about the auto show. Give us a little of the history, because you really know the history as far as WANADA itself is concerned. And then I want to talk about this Auto Dealer Education Institute, which I think is something that's critically important to the future of the automobile industry and something we've really never talked about before.
Well, absolutely. The history of the Washington Auto Show goes back to before World War I. When 1917 is when the association was found. That's Washington Area New Auto Dealers Association. It had another name back then, but I won't get into all that history. But one of the things that the Dealer Association was charged to do was to promote the automobile business, and you did that through auto shows, usually in the wintertime, like right now, because people are not really thinking about going out to buy a car like they are in the spring when the new models come out, or the summertime when they're clearing them, or the fall when you can get a good deal, or so they say. But the wintertime is sort of the doldrums, so you have an auto show to fire up interest in that. And we've been firing up interest in cars since the 1920s, and this particular auto show is really taken root since the 1980s. It was at the National Guard Armory back in the 50s and 60s, much smaller space, but now in this convention center, this world-class convention center, the Washington Auto Show has seized the opportunity to be one of the foremost auto shows on the industry's global circuit. And what I mean by that is that we are recognized by OICA, and that's a 25-cent French term for organization of international automakers who certify or accredit certain auto shows. And our Washington show is one of 5 in the U.S. that is so accredited, as well as shows internationally like the Paris Auto Show, Frankfurt, Geneva, and Tokyo. So we're quite proud of where this show has come. We are the public policy show on the global circuit.
And that's why I added that into your name, because that's something that most people don't know and don't realize the significance of that. And this proximity to the U.S. Congress, but all these embassies and liaisons and international bodies like the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, all of that is really critical so that they understand the automobile industry and at the same time provide input to this industry of an international nature that most people don't realize is out there. So how does WANADA foster bringing all this together in order to enhance the industry, but also something that the buying public truly needs and wants?
Well, what you have, I mean, this is the only auto show in the world that has the U.S. Congress down the street. And for better or worse, the Congress, the federal establishment, the regulators are the de facto partner with the auto industry and automotive design. So it behooves the automakers, and they have seized the opportunity to really look at Washington as an important auto show. And that's great for Washingtonians beyond just the borders of what we think of as metropolitan Washington. I mean, this goes all the way down to Richmond, West Virginia, up into Pennsylvania. In terms of drawing people to a show where you've got cutting edge cars and you've got incredible displays that the automakers bring down to put their best foot forward. Because here again, they want to make sure that the federal U.S. establishment, Congress, understands how important this industry is. So that bodes well for consumers because they come to a show like this and they can see cars that you don't see on the street.
Yeah, looking at this whole thing, because the cars are becoming much more sophisticated. I mean, there really are traveling computers that allow people to be in it as it's moving down the highway because of the sophistication. The materials, the composites are going into it. The power plant is much more sophisticated, energy efficient, reducing greenhouse gas emissions and all that. And I know through our association with Rotary International and the Rotary Club of Washington, D.C., is that we have this outstanding Automobile Dealers Education Institute. Why did you want to establish that? Because that's a lot of time and focus and money that's gone into the next generations, plural, that's going to be able to maintain these very sophisticated automobiles.
Well, the association, besides promoting, the sale of automobiles, also promotes the business of automobile dealers, and that's very much premised upon fixed operations, the service department, being able to repair these terribly complex computerized vehicles. It's a long way away from the days you had a shade tree mechanic, in his bag of tools. I mean, today it's almost you got somebody like a physician in a white coat and a skinny tie and a stethoscope, listening to what's going on with your car. Very sophisticated machinery, high technology. And the need for the next generation of technicians is such that we've determined that we've got to develop our own, home grow our own, to put it in hippie terms that probably a lot of your listeners won't remember because they're not as old as you and me. But in terms of developing the next generation of technicians, and we do that with a program we've established where we get aspiring young people, young adults, the opportunity to get a scholarship, to get free education, to get employment, because it's a work study kind of a situation, like what is well known in Europe as apprenticeship, less known here because Americans really didn't embrace apprenticeship to the extent that they have in Europe. But the concept still works. In other words, we get these persons employed, and we train them in state-of-the-art auto technology in a 2-year program. And when they finish that 2-year program, they are transformed into line technicians, and they can have a career for the rest of their lives. And if they're really industrious at it, can earn 6 figures of income each year.
This is something that's really kind of the dichotomy of the society. We want a highly educated society, and we think that everybody must go to college or university to get a degree and then come out and do something. And many people are studying in a trade, and accounting and law or whatever it may be. But many of the people, and as the future, we need more and more technicians. And the money is following the technical trades. There's fewer of them, but yet the demand is tremendous in these technical trades, not only in the automotive, but into plumbing and heating and air conditioning and all these other trades. So when you're going out to the high schools to recruit these people, or in the community colleges, what are you doing so that the families actually support this decision to become an auto mechanic, an auto technician, because even the terminology is evolving as far as the industry itself is concerned, and realize that this is a real solid middle to upper middle class work.
We've got programs that are actually in the public high schools in Montgomery County and Fairfax County, most notably around our Capital Beltway, where we have established foundations there with curriculum that measure aptitude and ambition to the automotive technology career. When you finish this program, we call it the mini dealership program, where the students actually go in and they work on the car, to recondition it, both from a mechanical standpoint and a body standpoint. Then another group of students comes in and they sell it. These are licensed used car operations, the way they work. And these are curriculums. In other words, they're in the high schools. You're going on to get your high school diploma when you're in these programs. Those are the feeder channels to our auto technician development program, which is the mainstay of what we're now doing with our Auto Dealer Education Institute. Technician development is where we are, and again, that's a young adult. You don't get out of high school and all of a sudden, Shazam, you're a line technician. That doesn't work that way. But if you have the aptitude for it and you've also got the ambition for it, you've got a career, again, a lifelong career. Because when you become a technician, a line technician, you're worth your weight in gold.
Yeah, and looking at it, and we're just about running out of time, which always happens to us, Gerry, whenever we're together. Never enough time. But speaking to the parents and the families of these aspiring males and females, because you're recruiting more and more women into this as far as these automotive technicians, what do you want to say to them? And we have about 40 seconds to do that.
Want to say to them that this is a career that will be a gratifying career, because the people that go into this love automobiles and they're good with their hands and they're bright and they've got an opportunity to manifest all of those talents.
We have about 30 seconds. What do you see for the growth and development of this Auto Dealer Education Institute over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
We want to get the automakers more engaged in it. Right now, it's pretty much just a dealer association effort. But if we can get automakers to really line up in support of this, and when we first got out of the gate, we had Ford Motor Company. That's what's going to make all the difference.
Well, Gerry, it's always good to have you out, and thank you for sharing with us. This is Gerard, Gerry N. Murphy. He is President-Emeritus, General Counsel for WANADA in Washington, D.C., and thank you for being with us as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.
Saving for retirement might be easy for some folk, but for others, it might take a little more work. And for those who haven't started, there are still things you can do to catch up.
Oh, that is good news.
Like getting out from underneath past debt. And don't get wrapped up with high-interest credit cards.
Get you some eyes.
Be diversified with your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Your financial goals are not out of reach. The choice is clear. For a happy ending, choose to save.
You've probably heard about heart disease, but did you know that it's the #1 killer of women nationwide? Heart disease claims more lives each year than breast cancer, lung cancer, or strokes combined. But there are steps you can take to protect yourself against it. For more information on how you can prevent heart disease, contact your local American Heart Association or visit their website at www.americanheart.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of EmeraldPlanet, EmeraldPlanet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis, looking at the best of the best in over 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And we're sitting here at the Washington Auto Show in the middle of some of the most incredible technology known to humankind, much more than what even launched the space industry and the space program of the United States. But I have a gentleman sitting right beside me who is a columnist, a writer, a historian, and a philosopher, if I could throw that in. This is Warren Brown. He is the automotive columnist for the Washington Post, does an outstanding job. And Warren, welcome to the EmeraldPlanet TV.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Glad to have you. And I'm going to hold up your publication, The Auto Industry of the Future. And actually, much of that, Warren, I think is probably surrounding us. The future is here.
Yeah, exactly. I sometimes anger my colleagues by saying that all of the auto shows are elegant presentations of obsolescence, because almost everything you see here is new, yes, in terms of a product, but it's also obsolescent in terms of where the industry is really going.
Yeah, you have been around many years, and you know the history. You've seen the evolution over the last 30 to 40 years and everything that's going on. What has your eyes seen, and what has your mind been able to grasp over these last 30 to 40 years?
We are moving from an industry which now primarily is retail-oriented. That is, you have your dealers selling products to buyers. And we're moving from that to an industry where access to the product is more important than how you actually get it.
Yeah, looking at this access, and we're surrounded. We're here at the Washington Auto Show. It's fun. It's interesting. It's exciting. They have lots of nice events. They have much talent, in entertainment and all that. But yet, it continues to grow, and the auto shows around the globe continue to grow. In the age of the Internet, why do these continue to grow?
I think we're seeing the last bloom of that old business model, because, for example, in Detroit and even here, the Ford Motor Company people are talking about car sharing as much as they're talking about car retailing. The same is true of Buick, division of General Motors. So it's a small start right now, but increasingly you have more of these conversations of car sharing versus car owning. One is not going to replace the other, but there will be a shared reality of them both. And the reason is simple. The average price of a new car in the United States, the final transaction price, $33,566. Only 4 places in the country can comfortably afford that. You happen to be in one of them, the Washington metropolitan area. Everybody else is struggling with 7-year car notes. And the industry knows that it can't keep that up. It can't sustain a constantly rising retail car price. And so you're going to have situations where people are primarily concerned about access to the car. Tesla, for example, the electric car company, everybody keeps thinking Tesla is just a luxury electric car company. No, Tesla is the future, because eventually you will be able to tap your cell phone, order a Tesla, and one will show up at your house without driver, because it'll be an autonomous operating automobile. And that is how a lot of people are going to wind up driving. They'll do it with Tesla. They'll do it with the Chevrolet Bolt. They'll do it with Buick, and on and on.
Now, looking at the millennials, and this is something that comes out continuously, is that many of them don't look at themselves, and this goes back to what your car sharing idea is, of really having to own a car, because now 80% of the American population live in urban areas, 80%, and that's going to go to, could be as much as 90% by 2050. And so confined space, they don't want the headaches of automobile ownership, and they really like the idea of having this shared experience as part of who they are as new human beings on the planet. So looking at these younger and younger generations that are coming into the market, whether it be car sharing or car buying, what do you see for the future of that, this attitude evolving, say, over the next 15, 20, even 30 years?
It'll be a mixture, but car sharing will be an increasingly important part of that mixture. I live in a neighborhood between one of the largest high schools in Northern Virginia and one of the biggest middle schools. And I've noticed, I've been doing this since 1978 or thereabouts, I've noticed that when I first started out as a journalist, as a car journalist, the kids would always make a beeline to my driveway to see what's new. Now, I see them going blithely past my driveway, knocking on their cell phones, and that's what they're interested in. They no longer have to drive to some place to be there with a friend. They can be there on their cell phone or on their tablets, which all of them seem to have. And that is what they're interested in. I notice with my own now adult children, if a car doesn't have Wi-Fi in it, to them the car is a failure because they have to be in contact wherever they are. So companies such as GM and Mercedes-Benz are smart to make Wi-Fi basically a part of the automobile because that is where the new world is. So, you know, it's changed. It's changed a lot.
Looking at this whole notion of connectedness, and it's not only connectedness human to human, but it's actually car to car, car to location. It could be to the department store, it could be to the grocery store, could be to, you know, wherever they were going to, but everything seems to be in the status of being connected all the time, 24/7, 365. How do you see that evolving again over these next 10, 15, 20 years?
Evolving. And probably by 2025, 2050, it will be evolved enough so that it's a daily reality. And that is what legislators and car manufacturers and their suppliers are pushing for, particularly getting governmental infrastructures to have more transponders to talk to the cars, talking for. And now when I go to a car show, I spend less time looking at the vehicles themselves and more time talking to suppliers, technological companies, communications companies, because they are driving the industry now. And they're all trying to get cars to the point where cars, quote, talk to one another. And when that happens, and it will happen, and when the infrastructure develops a more robust, reliable way of talking to cars, you will see the eventual disappearance of things such as traffic lights. You really won't need them anymore.
Now, looking at this whole notion of the electronics and the telecommunications that's packaged within the cars, you know, there's the International Electronics Show. It's held in Las Vegas, and people from all the world gather there and all that. But when you look at the buzz, if I can use that term, in the Washington Post and many of the other journals and even the evening news, is that the automobile industry is really in some ways galloping ahead of many other industries as far as the use of advanced technologies.
Several important things happen at the CES show, the Consumer Electronics Show, this year in Las Vegas. One, the Chevrolet Bolt, which normally would have been introduced first, at the North American International Auto Show was introduced at CES. And BMW introduced several of its vehicles at CES. And that is for a reason, because the reality of the car is changing. If the car can't communicate, it is considered old-fashioned. And for GM, a Detroit company, to choose the Las Vegas Consumer Electronics Show to introduce its car says a lot about where GM wants to go. Now, in Detroit, Ford Motor Company teamed up with Deloitte Touche to talk about the changing world of the automobile, the changing retail world, speaking more about car sharing and Ford's push to become a car sharing as well as a car making and car selling company. And when you ask them why, the response from Ford and Deloitte Touche is that people increasingly only care about having access to the car. They don't necessarily want the burden of owning a car. And I think that's where we're going.
We're running out of time, and every time we get together, it always happens. But you know, Uber is now a noun, and it's become ubiquitous throughout society. And we're going to go out with it. Now, hold on. We're going to go out with this, Warren. The Ubernization, if you will, that's not a real word, I just made it up, of the automobile industry and telecommunications for the future. What do you see this concept of Uber changing the mindset of what an automobile really is?
Well, you might want to change it to the Uberization and the Lyftization, L-Y-F-T. Yes. That is becoming the reality, particularly when you look at cities like New York and Boston, Washington, D.C. Young people who before would have been hot to buy a car, they don't worry about it. They have a cell phone. They tap their cell phone and order Uber or Lyft. And they're perfectly happy doing that. And so that's going to be a part of the reality.
Well, this is Warren Brown, the automotive columnist of the Washington Post, historian, philosopher, and also someone who gives us a view into the future of where we're going as far as automobiles as we create the Emerald Planet.